Hey everyone, let me go back to live mode there. Let me see. Oh, here we go. Good morning. Good morning. We're going to be talking about Final Cut Pro. We're talking about NAB today. We're going to be talking about a lot of good stuff. I want to continue doing these for the time being. They're getting between 600, 700 views in a week between Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I'm on all three platforms right now. As a matter of fact, let me just check something. I want to window, network cameras. Nope. I want to see bandwidth statistics. Where are we? Oh, there we are. So I quit. I had Restream for years and years and years. And I quit Restream because it was $300, $400 a year, something like that. And which was really good in its day, but now it's from Ecamm Live can stream to multiple platforms. I can stream to multiple platforms with Ecamm Live on my desktop, and I have an app to stream live on when I'm doing live from the phone. We got our first comment here. We like to add these comments. Our friend from Philadelphia, Spot Lewis, good morning from Philly. I guess it's cold up there too. It's cold here. It's 34, and they're calling for snow like midday. So if that's the case, it'll be our first snow over here in Carroll County, Maryland, where I live. Let me just double check on the audio real quick. Hold on one second. Audio sounds fine. Audio sounds fine. I'd like to double check it. It's a couple of times when I thought the audio was good, but there was an issue. And let me tell you something. Sometimes I can't fix it. Sometimes I have to even go to MacBook Pro microphone sometimes. I mean, I've had that happen before. Spot Lewis says, yes, snow flurries coming. So I looked at the map, and there's like it's weird because it's not snowing now, but they're calling for like midday, sometime around noon, at least around here. That's what they're calling for. So we'll see. I'm probably going down to one of our local main streets. They're having a cocoa crawl, and I might go down there and film that live today. I haven't filmed live for a while, streamed live. I might go down there and do that a little bit later this afternoon. Or early afternoon, I should say. So does anybody have any news on Final Cut? I have a few things. But does anybody have any news they want to share? Because it's like the calm before the storm. Okay, we're expecting Final Cut Pro 10.7 to be coming out. I do, before NAB. Well, NAB is only 6 weeks away at this point. Middle of April is when NAB is, April the 16th. So between now and April the 16th, I'm expecting Final Cut Pro 10.7. So it's like really calm, nothing much happening. No, I haven't seen any rumors other than me talking about it. 71 degrees last Wednesday. That's right. It was like 70 degrees. Today it's 40 degrees colder. This is kind of typical. Hi, Kalota. Michael says hi from Cyprus. How you doing, Michael? Thank you for joining us. Is this a good time for you to tune in from Cyprus? I don't even know. Is it evening there? I'm presuming somewhere in the evening. Here's what I did. Okay, Final Cut Pro and coffee. Nothing happening with Final Cut Pro. Nobody's doing any broadcasts about it, live broadcasts. Saturdays are a good time for me, typically at this time in the morning. 10 a.m. is before I really do anything. 7 a.m. on the Pacific Coast, the West Coast. 10 a.m. here. 3 p.m. GMT and the UK. So it's not, first off, it's Saturday, so nobody's really, I mean, some people are working, but it's not a typical work week day. So 10 a.m. here, East Coast works for me. It's kind of easy for me to set it up and get ready to go live. I always have to do a few things, a few tweaks, make sure the lighting's okay and all that, and everything's working. That's the other issue. I have to boot into this special version of Ventura, which I'm calling it, what did I call it? Something fresh install, Ventura fresh install, because my other version of Ventura, little bit of issues with Ecamm Live. I had that skipping issue. There's been no skipping issues with this fresh install. I installed it from scratch. I didn't do anything. Good hour for Romania too. That's what I figured. It's like the only people that maybe can't tune in are Australia, and I can never figure out what time they are. It's like 14 hours, some of them 14 and a half. But the thing about the West Coast, the Pacific, it's 7 a.m. Get up and have a cup of coffee and talk about Final Cut Pro. Michael says it's 5 p.m. There you go, 5 p.m. So we're going to talk a little bit about Final Cut Pro, which is what this show is about. And, of course, coffee. And coffee. So, and NAB. And we're going to talk about other things. If you have questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. We will try to answer them. If I can't answer them, or if the audience can't answer, we'll keep on looking for an answer for you. So, yeah, with these, this is the fourth one, and they've been going well. They get like 600, 700 views over a week between Facebook, YouTube, and then Twitter. It's on Twitter too, which is nice. Live stream to Twitter. So Twitter, you can't upload a long form video. It used to be 2 minutes, 20 seconds was a limit. So you can't upload that to Twitter, but you can stream live. You can stream live over there on Twitter. So that's interesting. As a matter of fact, let me post this, if you don't mind. I'm going to post this over on the Twitter site, because there are people over there, believe it or not. Let's do that. Tweet. Wow, look at that. And I'll post the URL. There we go. Hashtag FCPX. So the thing about, people say, well, it's not FCPX anymore. It is on Twitter. The hashtag for Final Cut Pro on Twitter is FCPX, and it's always going to be FCPX. You know why? Because FCP means a lot of different things. For example, FCP is full court press. But FCPX as the hashtag, regardless of the fact that Apple dropped the X, FCPX is the hashtag for Final Cut Pro over on Twitter and a lot of other places too. New MoType Titles plugin looks good. It does look good, but it looks like it's pretty elaborate. I mean, I'm sure you can go down. We'll go look at that in a minute, because I have the old version, the original version. I've had it for years, and I've used to use it a lot more than I do recently, because a lot of people have come out with good plugins that are similar. Let me just pull this up. Since we're talking about it, why not just look at it? Let me just do that. Mo-type plugin. Let me see. Can I play this? Yeah, I think I can. Okay. I'm not going to pull the video. I'm going to make it muted because I don't want the music to be playing. But anyway, let's go look and see what that is. Desktop. Here we go. So this is the new Mo-type 2. I'll just do a brief motion painting, all kinds. It's a little bit too, some of this stuff is a little too extravagant for my taste, but I like the original Mo-type. So it has all kinds of different things. It has this, it has this. I think it's a native plugin between all the NLEs. And like I said, I like it because I have the original. Oh, there's a lot of parameters for Mo-type 2. Eric, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I have been looking at that. I think it's on sale for like $100 and some down from its normal price. I didn't pay that much for the original, I don't think. If I recall correctly, I didn't pay that much for the original. But, you know, developers charge what they charge, and everybody decides what they want to do with that. What else do we have going on in the world of Final Cut Pro? Oh, let's talk about this for a second. This is, as usual, pretty incredible. Okay, this is Grant Petty. So they had a big announcement, the multiple announcements. They've had a lot of good stuff there. They had this new television camera switcher thingy, whatever it is. And they have introduced, of course, in DaVinci Resolve, they talk about that. And then they talk about some new cameras. I think that's 2 new studio cameras. Now, there's a couple of interesting things about this. Number one is NAB is 6 weeks away. So they made these big announcements 6 weeks before NAB. They're going to be at NAB. They have the biggest area at NAB typically, and they're there again. What are they going to show for NAB or right before NAB or whatever? What are they going to show? This is 6 weeks before. I'm used to them doing something a week before sometimes, but 6 weeks before, that means they have other things coming out for NAB. Yeah, Eric says, crazy low price for Blackmagic switcher. $29.99, I think it was, $3,000, but it has all kinds of things in it. It has all kinds of stuff in it. It's switching cameras and everything. I don't need something like that. I don't work at that level of production. I mean, a couple of cameras is typically fine for me. But it's just amazing what Grant Petty and Blackmagic, the crew at Blackmagic, do. Constant updates, constant new cameras, constant new updates to their hardware, lower prices. I just absolutely applaud Blackmagic. I'm really an admirer of them. And I do have DaVinci Resolve Studio license. I do have that. So I know some people are going to Blackmagic, from Final Cut to Blackmagic. And I've seen that. And if I didn't have Final Cut, that's where I would be for my main NLE. That, and I like LumaFusion a lot. I love LumaFusion's interface. I just love it. And the more mature that LumaFusion comes, they have a version. The version on the iPad also works on M1, M2 Macs. As that version gets more mature on the Mac, I'll be using it more and more even. I mean, I do with the iPad as well. And even with the iPhone, I'm amazed. You would think, oh, it's difficult to run. It's really not. They said like a certain percentage of their people edit on the iPhone. Let me see if I can bring it up here. There it is. I don't think I have anything. Oh, I do have something on there. So It's amazing. I can't get any closer because the camera won't. It'll be out of focus. I don't have auto cam on. It's amazing how effectively you can edit on a phone with LumaFusion. It's a fantastic app by a fantastic group of people. Speaking of the iPhone, so are you familiar with this contraption for the iPhone? This is a nice little, I forget who makes it, Newer Tech or somebody. There's no label on there, which is kind of odd. Oh, and I'm sorry, it is Newer, Neewer. I get this on Amazon. So what I use this for is I put it on my phone. Let me just see if I can get this on here. I put it on my phone so I have just a little bit of a grip for my phone. So I put it on right at the edge like this, and then I tighten it up. It's got a 1/4 thread on the top, plus a cold shoe, if you want to put a microphone or something else on there. But I use it for this. I find this, whatever reason, much more stable if I don't have a gimbal and stuff. So I use it as a grip. It's very safe. It feels very good in your hand. And I use it as a grip if I'm going to be just filming with the camera with no, I usually have a gimbal, or I have a stick with a thing on it. But if I'm not doing that and just walking around and want to grab my phone real quick, this works really. It's a very, very good grip. Like I said, you can put a microphone on top or a light or whatever else you want, or put one of those 4-way cold shoes on there and put a light and a microphone if you wanted to. But the idea is I can stick this in my pocket. I have a holster that I keep mounted to my belt, and I can just pull it out. And it's not the bare microphone, because the bare microphone is a little wobbly sometimes. So this thing is really cool. I really like this. It's not really meant for, it might be meant, this little piece down here is meant for this. I don't like that. I like this, gripping like this. As a matter of fact, this little piece comes off. It's got a strap, and I don't even need this little piece. So it's just like this. And you once again, a 1/4 thread on there. And I just use it like this. And it's just nicer. It's a nicer grip when you're filming for us videographers. So I just took this little piece off. I don't even use that. I just use this. Very nice. Stick it in my holster when I'm walking around, pull it out, and I have a grip for it. And there's, right now, I just got LumaFusion on there. Wanted to mention that as well. Let's see what else. Let me just go back to over here. Let me see. Here we go. Yep. We're doing fine. So let me pull up. There's a couple of videos. Let me see what I got video-wise. I'm not even sure what we have. Anyway, it seems like everybody is enjoying these Saturday morning sessions, Final Cut Pro sessions. Now, here's the thing. It's more difficult to do things when there's no Final Cut Pro news. Everybody and their mother and their brother comes on when there's a brand new update. Everybody comes on. I'm trying to do it more regular so we can always have a discussion about Final Cut Pro. For example, if you have a question about Final Cut Pro, if you're having a problem about Final Cut Pro, go ahead and bring it up. Okay, we'll see if we can answer it for you. We might be able to, we might not be able to, but even after the broadcast is over, there is ongoing discussion on each one of these sessions. So if it doesn't get answered during the live stream, it'll be answered perhaps during the week. Let me just see something here. Updates available. Do you want to restart? Oh, that's for my iPhone. No, I don't want to restart. Let me just see here a second what I have. Oh, this is a nice one. This is actually one of my sunrises that I got up and filmed this week. So when I do get up in the morning, I ride a bike or I go for a walk, This is what I saw one morning this week. Beautiful overcast clouds, the sun just peeking through at the bottom. Those are the bare trees because we don't have leaves yet in the wintertime. And this is my sunrise that I saw. It was just this week. I think it was the beginning of the week. I have some pretty dramatic sunrises over there. Pretty dramatic. Hello? Yes, this is Richard. We're live. Yeah, we're live. We're live right now. Yeah. Now, I won't say who you are. So I was just talking about Final Cut Pro 10.7, and I said it's going to come out before NAB. Do you have any news on that? Oh, it is. Is that right? It might come out before NAB. Well, that's what I said, between now and NAB, 6 weeks. The closer it gets to NAB, though, the more effective it is. It'll create buzz at NAB and stuff. If you can take that suggestion back to anybody you know named Tim, take the suggestion back to anybody out there in the Final Cut Pro community. Yeah, that's correct. We're waiting. We want features. We don't want 2 features a year like we had in 2022. We had 2 features in the spring. We want a big update like you used to do with 10.1, 10.2, 10.3, and 10.4. That's what we're all waiting for. Yes, Final Cut Pro. Listen, I'm not asking you to comment. I'm saying Final Cut Pro 10.7/11. If you want to call it 11, it must be a big update. But I'm not really thinking that's what's going to happen. I'm thinking 10.7. That's correct. We're waiting. All the faithful Final Cut Pro editors out there are waiting for a true feature update, because 10.5 wasn't that big, and 10.6, 10.5 especially, it wasn't much there. I understand, yes, I understand about the metal and M2 Max. Everybody's got to do that. That's not just you. Everybody has to do that. That's not a feature update. I'm talking about feature updates. We're all talking about feature updates. We want features. There's a lot of features. I mean, it took you 11 years to get dupe detection. I don't want to wait 11 years for some of these other features that we need. All right? Anyway, thanks for calling in. Please call back anytime that you have a comment to make about Final Cut Pro. I appreciate it. Talk to you later, Tim. Bye. Okay. So that was somebody, I'm not going to say who it was. I was once advised to never fall in love with a stock. NLEs probably deserve the same. Well, people use that term so that what we're talking about is Spot Lewis says his problem is he loves Final Cut Pro. Yeah, using the term I love something in regards to software, that's fine. A lot of people say that. I understand that. And I'm a big, huge proponent of Final Cut Pro too, even when they don't update it that often. It's got a lot of features that we all like, starting with the magnetic timeline. Either like it or you don't like it or don't like it. Speaking of that, I put a tutorial out this week because there was a comment on one of the Facebook groups. And somebody said, well, I'd really like the ability to lock a secondary track, okay? To lock a secondary track so it doesn't move around with you doing stuff on the bottom of the thing and everything's jumping around, moving with it and stuff. Sometimes that's desirable. Other times it's not. So I did a tutorial this week. I have to go find it. Let me see where the heck it is. Oh, here we go. Let me hold on one second. I'll be right with you. Be right with you. Hold on one second, please. Let me just pull this up. Streaming channel. Oh, you know what? It might be over here. Let me see what this is. What do I have here? Oh, here we go. Here we go. Hey everyone, this is Richard Taylor. This is One More Thing. Have you ever wanted to lock a secondary storyline in place so it doesn't move around when you drag clips around in the primary storyline? Well, in this One More Thing, I'm going to show you how to do that with an anchor clip. Let's get started. Here we are in Final Cut Pro. Normal behavior is a clip that's attached to a clip in the primary storyline moves with it. What if I want to lock clips in a secondary storyline so they do not move when I edit in the primary storyline? That's where an anchor clip comes in. Go to the beginning of the primary storyline and zoom in a bit. Click Option W to insert a gap clip. I'm going to shorten it so it's only a few frames. Next, I'm going to Option drag a copy to my secondary storyline so I can align the two storylines. The trick is now this top clip, secondary storyline, is no longer connected to a clip. It's connected to this anchor clip at the beginning. So if I drag this anchor clip, you can see it's attached to the anchor clip. It's no longer attached to a clip in the primary storyline. I can edit any way I want in the primary storyline, and the secondary storyline is effectively locked in place. So I just wanted to bring that up. I did a tutorial for LAFCPUG back 11 years ago, talking about layering different storylines and anchoring them at the beginning so they don't move if you want them. Sometimes you want them to move around, but I'll give you a perfect example when I don't. So can you place a sequence marker, timeline marker in Final Cut Pro? That's a trick question. Do you know how to place a sequence timeline marker in Final Cut Pro? Anybody have that answer? The answer is no, you cannot. Because in Final Cut Pro, you're placing clip markers. The markers are attached to individual clips. They're not attached to the timeline. Natively, there's no ability to place a timeline marker. For example, if I wanted to place a marker at 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. I can't do that natively. There's no command because any marker I place will move as I do the edit in the timeline. Well, with an anchor clip at the beginning, you put a blank title up there, or any clip, actually, but I use a blank title. Anchor it to the anchor clip at the beginning of the timeline, and then you can select the title and hit the M key, place a marker, hit the M key, place a marker, hit the M key, place a marker, and they will not move. Those markers will stay still. They will not move as you're editing in the timeline. I've been doing that for a long time. But I just saw somebody comment about he wish he could lock tracks. Well, this is the next best thing until they give us lock tracks, if they do. I mean, it makes sense, right? Let us lock a track if we want, and then we can unlock it. And I'd like the ability to enable and disable a storyline track. Right now, when you select a storyline, the inspector says nothing to inspect. It recognizes the storyline, but it says nothing to inspect. Give us an option to enable or disable that storyline. So when I'm doing edits, it won't affect the storyline. Okay, that would be nice. We have a few more comments here. Max says, will the expected 15-inch MacBook Air in spring be a slimline MacBook Pro if M2 Max chip is available? Well, it's got to be M2 at this point, right? It would be, unless you're doing a budget one, why would you go back to the M1 chip? I would suspect everything going forward is going to be M2. Maybe the next M Studio is going to be an M3. Who the heck knows? Maybe the Mac Pro. I think the Mac Pro is going to come out before NAB as well. I think Apple's going to do a spring event. Remember last year, before NAB, what happened with Final Cut Pro? Who can tell me what happened? Something highly unusual happened last March, right before NAB. Highly, highly unusual. Apple allowed people to talk about a beta feature coming in a new version of Final Cut Pro. That happened in March. I woke up one morning, I got texts, messages. Hey, check out this video. They're showing something in a future version of Final Cut. It might be a mistake, it might not be. Well, it wasn't a mistake because the video stayed up. If it was a mistake, the video would have been taken down. It was not a mistake. Apple / the Final Cut Pro team allowed people to talk about future version of Final Cut that was forthcoming. I think the videos were coming out in March. It was iJustine, and then a bunch of other people had it as well. She was the first one, and she showed dupe detection. She even pointed it out. She goes, look over here on the timeline index. See those little dashed lines or something to that effect? And I'm thinking, okay, well, either that was a mistake or she has Apple's permission. Well, obviously she had Apple's permission because it wasn't taken down. Okay? And then other people had it as well. So that happened last March. I applaud that. Yes, I'd like to see more of that. Let us, when the betas were getting ready to be released, go ahead and let us talk about it. Some people. First off, dupe detection is not an original feature. That's been around all the other NLEs for years and years and years. But I sure do appreciate it being there. Now, voice isolation, I use that even more. I use that on anytime I got dialogue. So I did the recent documentary on the Creative Summit, version 1. I think I'm not going to have to do a second one, but if I do, I will. Creative Summit, the documentary on my YouTube channel, and I use the voice isolation all over the place when we had live scenes because it's so noisy. It's incredibly noisy there. Unless you're there, you really can't. Because there's dozens and hundreds of people talking. So when I'm there doing the live streams, it's just like I can't even hear myself. It's so loud. And I presume the audio is going through, and typically it is. But I use the voice isolation feature all the time. It's not the same as noise reduction. audio noise reduction. It's different. It's using metal machine learning or whatever the heck they call it. Eric says, no fans in MacBook Air, so probably no Max chip. Huh. So you're thinking they're going to do an M1? No, I don't think the Max necessarily in the Air, but I think the M2, the basic M2 or the one step up, whatever it is. Yeah, that's what I think. Let me just check and make sure the comments are. Matthew says, I really want to see what Apple comes up with as far as neural engine features go, because I think those are going to be some of the most exciting features on the horizon. So, yeah, absolutely. The neural engine. Matthew, explain to me the difference between the neural engine and machine learning and AI. Is that where the AI and machine learning happens, is in the neural engine? I'm not sure. Could be. Let me see, what do I have here? Oh, buy me a coffee. Look at this. You can buy me a coffee. So last year at NAB, $5 a shot. $5 a shot. Buymeacoffee.com/Richard Taylor. Support me on this channel doing these live streams, but this time of year, I typically do this for when I go to NAB. And here we go, over here. Nope, wrong way. Thanks for your support. Buymeacoffee.com/Richard Taylor. Listen, last year I started doing this. I've never asked for support for anything. I've been podcasting for 15 years. I used to get, some people would make a donation and stuff, but now when I go to NAB, it's very expensive. I have a couple of sponsors, 1 or 2 sponsors, but I don't have anybody to sponsor my coffee habit. So last year I had over $200 of coffee support from listeners, and I'd appreciate the same amount this year. Over here it is. Thanks for your support. Buy me a coffee, Richard Taylor TV. That would be appreciated. Absolutely. Absolutely. But anyway, as we get closer to NAB, I will talk about it. So Matthew says, yes, exactly. Okay, that's what I thought was the neural engine is what takes care of machine learning and stuff. So that's what it is. That's the portion of the chipset that takes care of that. That's what I thought. It seems like that's what it would be. Yeah, so there's been incredible advancements with machine learning, AI, whatever. Like, for example, everybody likes the voice isolation. Well, that's AI, right? Listen, Apple has absolutely have to. With their next major feature, which I'm presuming is going to be 10.7, they're going to have speech-to-text translation inside of Final Cut, where Final Cut can listen to a video and transcribe the entire thing with time code, and hopefully be able to do both captions with that information, click on a text file that takes you to the location in the video, and titles. I want titles as well, because I think I have more options rather than just basic captions. I like to have more options. Hypothetical idea. Atomos and Apple get around Red RAW presets by using external monitors to capture ProRes RAW. Sure would be nice if a future USB-C phone could capture, add that back, could capture and view footage from a DSLR in ProRes RAW. Yeah, ProRes RAW is interesting. So I ordered, I haven't ordered it yet, okay? I've been waiting for years. I have a GH5 and a GH4, and I'm a big fan of both of those cameras for the time, but I want to go full frame for lower light and some other features. And let me answer this. Matthew O'Brien says, yes, speech-to-text and auto captions as well as auto titling, yes. This has to come in an update soon, absolutely. Because Apple has all the pieces, And we have, Lumberjack is a fantastic piece of software, but that's not going to preclude Apple including some of these things in Final Cut, right? Sherlock's, that's the word, when Apple absconds somebody's ideas and takes it for themselves, Sherlock. But it doesn't, I'd like to see some of these things native in Final Cut. I mean, text-to-speech, absolutely. Translating your they have this new, what is that called, that AI feature that can translate audio to text. I bought that, whatever that thing is. And then you can drag the file over to Final Cut and make titles. Yes. Let me see something here. What else do we got? Hold on one second. Oh, this was interesting. This was very, very interesting. Hold on a second. Turn that off. So when I was, there we go. Got two of them on there. When I was looking at what is that? Another one. When I was looking at the map for the Creative Summit, I didn't know, so I know where Apple Park, we've been to that many times. I know where Apple Campus is. I did not know Steve Jobs' childhood home is in the same proximity. So I will definitely try to go to that the next time if we have another Creative Summit. I had no idea that his childhood home is also close by. So I'll be going to that if we indeed, I'm making two predictions. As long as the world stays somewhat the way it is now with COVID and stuff, and it seems like people are getting back to more normal, and we've somehow got some immunity and stuff. I don't know. I'm not going to get in that discussion, but that in any situation with, worldwide events, as long as things kind of stay where they are, I'm expecting a Creative Summit back in Cupertino in the fall. I'm expecting an in-person Creative Summit in Cupertino back again in the fall. And I really don't care. I would prefer there be a Final Cut Pro update around that or some announcement around that, but I really don't care if there isn't any. I still want to have the event. That event is too important to the Final Cut Pro community. It's the premier event, annual event. Philip Hodges calls it the annual Final Cut Pro family reunion. And that's what it is. It's a phenomenal event. It's two or 3 days. We all go to the hotel. We stay. Most people stay there. The events are all centered around the hotel. We take a bus different places. They have a couple of charter buses. We go to Apple Campus to see the Final Cut Pro team presentation in their office. We go to Apple Park Visitor Center, at least this visitor center, but we've been promised twice that we were going to go to the Apple Park Spaceship Campus. Twice we've been promised that, and it was pulled. Last time in 2019, it was pulled 2 weeks before the event. So I'm predicting, number one, as long as now this, of course, this could change, or the world could change in an instant, as we know from the last few years. If there's no anything dramatic happening, we will go back to the Creative Summit in Cupertino in person in November 2023. Second prediction, which we've been talking about, we got a phone call about it. Final Cut Pro 10.7 between now and NAB. Maybe there's going to be another leak of beta features in March, and then they release it right before NAB like they did last year. But it's going to come. Something's going to happen. New features are coming out before NAB for Final Cut. Absolutely, I'm convinced of that. Matthew O'Brien says, Descript. I have a subscription to Descript. And I only got it because of it allowed 10 hours of transcribing per month, which is reasonable. But if Final Cut Pro gets that natively, and I have the new AI version that doesn't require a subscription. I bought the app, it's AI, so I can do those now. But the script is much more than just that. It's a very, very sophisticated tool. It's very sophisticated. I like making audiograms into script. It's very nice. Yeah, there we go. Even CapCut has auto caption. So guarantee you that's one of the features that are coming in Final Cut. Guarantee it. Has to be. Apple has all the things in place. So that'll be fine. That'll be a nice feature. I'd like to see better audio controls. I mean, a mixing board, a mixer of some sort, whether it's a board or whether it's not, whatever. That's fine. So let me go back to one of our friends. One of our friends has a birthday. Let me see. One of our friends has a birthday. Is this what I want? Or is this what I want? Where is that? Huh. I didn't pick that up. Let me see something here. Well, anyway, here's our friends. This is if you don't know, Brad Olson and I, I'm a co-editor. Let me pull this down so you can see me talking live. So I'm the co-editor of Off the Tracks, the movie that Brad did. This is Brad and I doing a FaceTime thing. One of our very first collaborations online, talking about editing Off the Tracks.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going okay. I'm working on B-roll. I'm working on doing a bunch of B-roll because I think that's what we have to pretty much do at this point.
Have you been able to go through each section then?
I've got through the first 3 sections, then I went back and started doing B-roll because I realized that that's going to affect kind of everything that I'm doing, what the B-roll is. So the reason I brought that up because it's Brad's birthday today. Brad Olson has a birthday. Happy birthday, Brad. Yes, absolutely. Happy birthday. There we go. Brad's birthday is today. Let's see what we have. Hopefully it's a roles-based mixer, preferably one main track for global adjustments. At least, yeah, it has to be a roles-based of some sort, but there's no reason. I mean, people right now, we can take our audio and put it in a compound clip. And we can apply effect to the compound clip. But if we want to make any adjustments, we got to break it apart, make the adjustments to individual clips, and then put it back in, back and forth. I don't like that. It's very, very clunky. I'd rather have a roles-based mixer that said this roll is on this, whatever they want to call it, rolls channel, and you can have effects applied to that one channel, and this one's over here, and this one's over here, and this one's over here. So I mentioned earlier that it's taken 11 years to get dupe detection to Final Cut. I'm not criticizing that it has. I'm just making an observation. It's 12 years in June, and we still don't have a master volume control for Final Cut. There's no master volume control of any sort. The audio tools in Final Cut are a little bit, well, they're lacking, let's say that. And everybody knows that audio is at least 50% of good video, if not 60% or 70% or 80%. So we need more sophisticated audio controls. But all these years, we don't have a master fader, a master volume control for Final Cut. Eric says, yes, compound clips are as awesome as they are. The workflow is a little too destructive for my taste. It's just clunky, jumping in and out of compound clips. I use compound clips a lot, but not, I understand how they work. I know that, but there's a better way to do audio. Better, more sophisticated, more whatever way they're going to do it with rolls, I don't know. Let me take this off. I don't know how they're going to do that, but yeah, audio controls. I use Logic for most of my audio. Matter of fact, I'm editing the next version of Final Cut Pro Radio Podcast, which will be out in a couple of days. And I do that in Logic because Logic is a digital audio workstation, and Logic has sophisticated audio controls that Final Cut doesn't have, and I don't really care about that. I don't care about that. Final Cut is not a digital audio workstation. Okay? Two different things. That's why Hollywood people always send their mixes out to Pro Tools, to a Pro Tools house to do final mixes. I'm not even talking about the mixes. I'm talking about just tools that I absolutely need when I edit, if I'm editing audio. Now, can I do it in Final Cut? Yes. As a matter of fact, that tutorial I showed you before about the anchoring a clip to the beginning of a timeline with an anchor clip, I used the Final Cut voiceover for that. I didn't use Logic for that because I don't need Logic for that. Now, I still use my same audio setup. I have my Neumann TLM 103 microphone just out of view. It's right here. And then I have my Apollo Twin X, which I love. I love that thing. It's fantastic. It's very expensive, but boy, does it sound good. And I have that, but I used it in Final Cut voiceover. So I brought the tutorial in, and then I did the voiceover, clip at a time, 2 clips at a time, and I moved them around in Final Cut. One of the features I'd like to see in Final Cut when it comes to the voiceover tool, I'd like to be able to target an audio storyline, okay? Because right now it places individual clips, and I have to go back and reselect them, at least as far as I know, unless you know of another way. I'd like to be able to target a storyline so all the clips go inside of a single storyline so they're not up and down and left and right and jumping. I got to select them all and make a storyline. I'd like the voiceover tool to be able to target a storyline and all the clips go inside the storyline. That's what I'd like. But I use the voiceover tool for tutorials all the time. All the time. Here's what I don't use anymore. All these years I've been supporting the company, I just don't use it. ScreenFlow. I don't use ScreenFlow at all anymore. I use Clean Shot X. Is that what it's called? Let me see what it's called. Yeah, Clean Shot X to record my tutorials, and then I bring it into Final Cut and do my editing, adding arrows and things. Clean Shot X, you have options, and one of the things it does, it shows on-screen mouse, clicking, and keyboard shortcuts. So that saves me a step. I have it, it's just automatically there. The quality is superb. It's easy to get to. So I might get ScreenFlow. I think it's up to 10. I might get 11 just because I've had it all these years. And usually, let me give you a little tip. When it's available for the first 48 hours, 36 hours on the App Store, usually it's half price or more. So watch for it. I usually make an announcement. We have a Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Final Cut Radio TV is what it's called. It's a combination of these live streams, Final Cut Radio, podcast. I'll make an announcement on there, probably on Twitter. Hey, it's available for $39 instead of $100, whatever it is. Typically, they do that for just a 1 day, day and a half, 2 days. So at that price, I'll probably buy it again, even though I haven't used it for a long time. It's a great program. Don't get me wrong, but Clean Shot X is available for screen recording. Even QuickTime does quality screen recording, but Clean Shot X is much more sophisticated than just the basic QuickTime. So what do you think about that? So that is, let me see what else. Do you have any questions, Final Cut Pro questions? If you have any problems, you've seen any issues, go ahead and bring them up now. I'm going to keep on doing these Saturday mornings at 10 o'clock. They seem to be gaining in popularity. They're getting real popular. Everybody's enjoying them. I enjoy them. I enjoy doing them. It's an easy time for me to go. Am I going to be here every week of the year? We'll have to see. We'll have to see. We will have to see. But I am going to keep on doing them. They're very popular. And like I said, each one, 700, 800 views over a couple week period between Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So people are enjoying them. The time seems to work pretty well. So that's fine. We will keep on doing them. Let me just check on one other thing. Yeah. That's it. That's fine. So anyway, text-to-speech, text translation, audio to captions and titles and things, absolutely. But I'd like to see it go beyond that and do more of the, bring up a text file, click on it's time-coded, click on a search for words, click on it, it takes you to the video the way Lumberjack does now. That would be fantastic. I really like to see something like that, sophisticated like that. All righty. So we're going to keep on doing these for the foreseeable future, probably leading up to NAB for sure. Don't forget, you can buy me a coffee over there leading up to NAB. I need coffee for NAB. Okay, I'll be up long hours. I'm going to start the ground running, streaming live. I'm getting there Sunday, start the ground running. But when I'm at NAB, I'm looking for Final Cut Pro stuff. Now, I don't expect that used to have Final Cut Pro Guru Gathering. Steve Martin used to put that on. They've had in the past 2017, 2018, Apple presented in the convention center. They announced 2 million one in 2017 and 2.5 million in 2018. They actually had the official announcement there. At NAB, in the convention center, Apple official, not in some side hall or whatever, Apple was there. They were there in 2019. The last time they were there was 2019. They were on stage at the Faster Together event. Apple official from the Final Cut Pro team was there. So let's see what happens this year. Apple had the AI conference in person, right? The Steve Jobs Theater for their employees. Let's see if they do something at NAB again this year. It would not surprise me. It would not surprise me. The Final Cut Pro team is always there. I always see them there. But I'm talking about an Apple presentation, working with Future Media Concepts, working with FCP Works, Noah Cadner. Oh, one of the things I don't know about this year, and I've messaged Dan Berube, is there a super meet at NAB 2023? I haven't seen anything about it. Let me just go and check. Let's go check while we're talking about it. That was one of the highlights of my... No, there's nothing announced yet. It should be announced because usually they start selling tickets at this point. So here's the Super Meet. This is last year's 2022 Super Meetup, they called it, Las Vegas. There's a photograph. That's a photograph that I took of Dan. We don't want that. Close that up. Of Dan at the Super Meet. So there's no word of what's going on for 2023. Has he had enough? Let's check the blog. Nope, nothing there. Dan, let us know what's going on. If you're not going to have us, let us know. The fact that you haven't announced anything makes me suspect that there is going to be one. You just haven't got the plans in place yet, and you're waiting to get the plans in place. Speaking of that, Dan Berube, that place last year, the beer park, was fantastic. It's outdoors. It's undercover. There's a place to go indoors if it rains. It was the perfect venue for last year. Perfect venue. So let's hope he's going to have it. Leonard says he agrees. I'm not sure what he agrees to. Maybe audio with compound clips and stuff. Insta360 is doing a great job at editing features. I want to see these things in Final Cut Pro. I've heard about those, but I keep hearing about CapCut. I guess that's for TikTok and stuff. I'm not on TikTok, and I have no intentions of going on TikTok. It's not something that I'm really that interested in. I am on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, somewhere on Mastodon. I'm not sure, somewhere there. I'm there as well. But most social media, you can find me either Richard Taylor or Richard Taylor TV. If there's already a Richard Taylor there, I can't join as well. They won't let me. So Richard Taylor TV. So that's fine. So I'll keep doing these for the foreseeable future unless something comes up. I mean, if something comes up, I can't do them on a Saturday. That's what's going to have to be. But you can, at this point, I'm going to keep doing these 10 o'clock on Saturday. If you have questions, if you have any questions about Final Cut Pro, let me see what else I have here. So we do not know about Super Meat. Let me see if there's anything going on. Final Cut Pro. On Twitter right now, I don't think so. I'm going to check one thing. Here we go. No, that's that one. Let me go back to, where's the Twitter one? So Twitter is weird about, is it even on? Maybe it's not on. Huh. Maybe it's not on Twitter. I don't see it. Anyway, there's no way to know an advanced link of Twitter. They just put it somewhere and broadcast whatever they do. Maybe they've stopped doing that. I don't see it on Twitter, but anyway, it's live. You can go on live. Usually I can go into my post and see it, but I don't see it. I don't see it. But anyway, I'm looking forward, as I work with NAB and live streaming, I keep honing my craft. So I have microphone situations all straightened out. I use the DJI little teeny lapel mics, which are fantastic. One for me. If I'm going to interview somebody, I'll hook one on their shirt. Great audio, backup audio in the devices themselves if something happens. And my favorite microphone, I have a couple of them. One's called a Razor. I have two of those, which are really, really good. But I also use a Sennheiser MKE 400, which is a medium shotgun mic. But it's, you know what I hate on the microphones is floppy. Those floppy, the way you hook it up to a camera or to an iPhone, rubber band isolation things that they flop around like this. Well, the MKE 400 has an internal shock mount that you don't see anything and it doesn't flop around like that. I hate that when you're walking around, it's going boing, 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 boing. So I don't like those. I like the rigid ones, even though they're not as effective. I don't do that much. You can't tell that much. But anyway, the MKE 400 for my main mic, because it's short, it's nice, it's compact. You don't have that floppy rubber band shock mount thing. Everybody else has that, but this doesn't have it. It has an internal shock mount. And I also have two DJI Rode mics, one for me, I clip it under my shirt, one for talent if I'm going to interview them, but I also have a interview microphone stick that I can put one of those Rode mics on. And I also bring my Sennheiser MKE 600, which is a longer shotgun mic. If I'm going to be interviewing somebody, I can use that. So I bring two external mics and then my Rode DJI mics. The good thing about the Rodes is they record internally as well as broadcasting to the camera or the iPhone. Yes. What I would like to see is a super update of the Final Cut Pro at NAB time. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying is going to happen. I'm saying 10.7 between now and NAB, closer to NAB. It would not surprise me to see some features come out again in March. March is a couple days away. Somebody leak features of the beta version of Final Cut Pro 10.7 or whatever. Hey, Final Cut Pro 10.7 is coming out in a few weeks. Here's a couple features that we have. Of course, they're not going to reveal everything, but some of them would not surprise me. I would like to see a roadmap for Final Cut Pro's future. Yes. Well, yeah, it's not going to hurt. I mean, you don't have to give away. I mean, last time, for example, they allowed the beta version of Final Cut to be on YouTube in places. They showed dupe detection. That's not a Apple exclusive feature. Everybody has dupe detection. So Apple implemented it a certain way. Other places implemented it a certain way. But that's not a original feature. That's not innovative. That's just adding a feature that others have had for years. So I'm talking about more. I mean, yes, we want some of those things. Absolutely want some of the basic features that's still missing in Final Cut. So if you're listening, well, we know they are because they called a little while ago. If you're listening, we like the beta release, the beta way you did the beta last March, where you allowed certain YouTubers to talk about these features forthcoming in a future version of Final Cut. That's very cool. That's very cool. Do that again. March is coming up. A couple of features. Show us some. Get things working up. Get things worked up for NAB. Okay? Get things worked up for NAB, and you'll create a buzz for NAB. Even if, I think there's going to be something happening with Apple, even if it's like Future Media Concepts or FCP Works or something. I haven't seen anybody talking about doing a major event. LumaFusion's not doing Faster Together because OWC bought LumaFusion. Okay? OWC bought LumaFusion. 2019, Frame.io was the place to be on the show floor. They were right behind, I think, Blackmagic. They were the place to be because they had a lot of Final Cut Pro stuff. But Adobe bought Frame.io. They bought them. They sold out to Adobe. So that's not going to happen. Frame.io is not going to do Final Cut Pro stuff at NAB. They're part of Adobe family now, so it's going to be all Adobe all the time. Now, I understand the people have been complaining about some of the performance issues with Frame.io, I think specifically with Final Cut. I don't really follow too much on Twitter, but Final Cut, hashtag FCPX, I follow that. I saw people complaining about Frame.io issues. I don't know if they were Final Cut Pro specific or not. I don't know. But anyway, will I stop by the Adobe booth? I do all the time. I've always stopped by Adobe, and I will again. I have friends over there, Michael Cioni, Patrick Southern, maybe one or two others, and they're still my friends. You know, I have friends that, well, let's just leave it at that. They're still my friends. I talked to Patrick Southern last time I was here, last year, 2022. So I presume they're going to be there. I'm not going to talk to them about Premiere necessarily, but, you know, if they have something to talk about for Frame.io and Final Cut, that would be something we can discuss. I don't know enough about Premiere, and I don't have time to learn, so that's not going to happen. Anyway, what do you think? No more questions about Final Cut? I don't think. Let me just check my notes. Oh, there's a couple more things. There's that. We talked about Blackmagic. Oh, here's something. Here is something. Now, I know none of you do this, right? I know none of you do this. Let me just pull this up. But where is that thing? Let me see. So this has been in This has been in the news this week. I know none of you do this. Nobody watching this show does this, but pirated copies of Final Cut Pro were riddled with Mac malware. Riddled with Mac malware. This came up this week. I've seen it all over Twitter. So first off, if you pirate software, you get what you deserve. Okay? If you're pirating software, if you get malware, that's on you. 100% on you. So if you're pirating copies of Final Cut Pro and you got Mac malware, tough. I have no sympathy for you. Don't steal other people's software. But anyway, just so you know, this was on the news this week, there indeed was pirated malware in pirated copies of Final Cut. Good old coffee, my favorite drink, one of my favorite drinks. Listen, if I had to choose, I want air, I want to be able to breathe, I want water, and number 3 is coffee. Those are the 3 things that are essentials to me. Those 3. Air, water, coffee, in that order. Yeah, roadmap to Final Cut would be very cool, that's for sure. I'd like to see that as well. They've kind of started doing that, haven't they? With number 1 is last March, they did the beta release. Then they talked about that letter to Final Cut Pro, to Apple about Final Cut Pro, and they said, we're going to start working with some Hollywood people to see what they want to do and have meetings. I can confirm that they have happened. We had Michael Yanovich on the show, and he's attended those. He said he's allowed to say he attended, he just can't say about the content. But that has happened. Jose, I'm not Jose, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Hoa? Since a long time, real Final Cut updates don't exist. I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you. 5.10 was not much. 5.10 a year later, 10.6 came. I'm sorry, not 5.10. 10.5 was not much. A year later, 10.6 came out with the Mac 2021 MacBook Pros. Once again, there's a couple of features, the masking track, but nothing like 10.1, 10.2, 10.3, and 10.4. And even like 10.4.4 and even 10.4.9. They all had really, really good features. I'm hoping 10.7 before NAB, and it's a feature update. Text-to-speech, text translation, editing with the... Oh, one of the other things. So in Logic, I compare Final Cut and Logic because I use both of them a lot. In Logic, they have a Notes tab included in Logic. You can write notes, you can read notes, you can edit notes, and they go per project and per track, I think. There's 2 different ways to do notes in Logic. I'd like to see Final Cut have that. A Notes tab, or the ability to open up a text file and in Final Cut, I don't want to have to do it in text edit and stuff, or a PDF somewhere else, natively in Final Cut to edit, select the text, copy and paste in Final Cut. I think Lumberjack has a plugin that has some limited ability. They do, because I bought it. Has limited ability to work with text files, but I like to see it natively, just like Logic has a Notes tab. The Final Cut has a Notes tab, but it's not sophisticated like Logic's is. Logic's is a separate panel, and you can see the entire paragraphs of text. You can scroll up and down. Final Cut's Notes tab, it's just a single space, and you have to, whatever. I'm going to see a real, like a text app or text field in Final Cut. That's something else I like to see. So if it brings text-to-speech, text translation, and stuff like that, it's more sophisticated than what we have now. All right. Any more questions, any more comments on Final Cut? We'll be back again as we're planning on next Saturday. We'll see if we can get these videos up to 1,000 or so every week. Right now, I think the highest one is 700 and something. Last week's it's over 600. That's usually what it takes. That's on Facebook. Now, I don't know if it's on Twitter this week. I didn't see it. I'll have to go back and look, but I didn't see it because it doesn't give you a link. I get the link for Facebook. As a matter of fact, let me just see. I can go up here. Let me go up here. How do I do this? Broadcast status. Yeah, it's not on Twitter. Even though I logged in, it's not on Twitter. Huh. Isn't that interesting? So that's why it's not on there. So I'm glad I posted the YouTube link over there on good old Twitter. Sophisticated. Ecamm Live is very sophisticated. All right. I'm going to get on out of here. I have to get ready. I think I'm going to be streaming live from down on Main Street. And I will see everybody later. Thanks once again. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you want to support me, you can do that over there. buymeacoffee.com/Richard Taylor. And you can go over there. Coffees are $5. I mean, you can afford $5. You can afford $5. I mean, if you can't, that's fine. That's fine. You can't afford it, that's completely fine. Let me see what this comment says before we go. There are a lot of Final Cut Pro users out there that enjoy your videos. We love the content, even though they may not hear from us. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Well, I get hundreds of thousands of views. I do a lot of videos, Facebook and YouTube, and I used to do Twitter. They must have changed. Because they didn't go on today. Either I did something wrong. Spot says, great show as always. Thank you very much. Hey, listen, I appreciate it. But anyway, as we get closer to NAB, I'm going to be talking about NAB a lot, of course, and I'm not positive, but I think there's going to be a Final Cut Pro presence more than last year at NAB this year. That's what I'm hoping. Especially if they release Final Cut Pro 10.7, of course there'll be a presence. People will be talking about it, there'll be a buzz. That's what I'm hoping for. Anyway, everybody, I'm going to get out of here and get ready for my live stream, for local live stream. Tune in next week. Final Cut Pro and coffee. I appreciate each and every one of you showing up. And what else is going on in the world of Final Cut Pro? This is the only place there's anything going on as far as live streaming and stuff. And I'll keep on doing it. Final Cut Pro Radio, the podcast, should be out in a couple of days. The next episode, I've been doing it for 7 years. Millions of podcast downloads. 7 years. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. My name is Richard Taylor. I'll talk to you next week, if not sooner. If something happens in Final Cut World, I will come back on live. You can find out if you want to do that. Just go over here. Of course, go to Richard Taylor TV at YouTube and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Nice comments coming in. I appreciate everybody. Appreciate the stream, Richard. Thank you, Matthew. I appreciate you stopping by every week. It's nice. All right, everyone. Talk to everybody later. Thanks.